Hello and welcome to the first SPSS tutorial. Over the next few weeks, I will create a series of video tutorials which will be uploaded for your learning. Through these tutorials, you will become skilled at SPSS to analyze your findings for the final presentation. The skills will also be useful for your internship or jobs in future. Please feel free to pause, rewind, or rewatch the tutorials as necessary. Throughout this time, your MMR lecturer will of course be around you and ready to assist you. Let's start by first launching SPSS. Go to the Spotlight function on your computer and key in SPSS. Select SPSS Statistics. It may take a long while to load, so you may like to pause the video now while you wait for it to load. Okay, now that it is loaded, most of you should see this pop-up window. Some of you may see a text window asking you something about using Unicode or locale encoding. Select the Unicode encoding option. If you see anything else other than what's on my screen, please alert your MMR lecturer so that you can check because you may have installed the software incorrectly. Okay, now to start, please click Don't Show This dialog in future and click OK. Then, make sure to check that this text here says that the processor is ready. Sometimes it says that it's not ready, which means that you can't use it. SPSS can only be used on campus using the SP Wireless Network or at home with the VPN logged in. So to use SPSS at home, you must make sure that you have VPN installed. So the first thing you will notice is that SPSS looks a lot like Excel, and in many ways it works a lot like Excel for data entry. The key difference is that there are two data views here, one called data view and one called variable view. Before we can actually access any of these cells to put in data, we first have to specify what variables we want, or you can think of them like column headings. So click Variable View and we will now create some variables for the mock survey that is on page 1 of your handout. So the first variable that we have is gender. Under name, we can put in either the question number or we can put in something like gender, which indicates a little bit about what the variable is about. It's really up to you. You can put anything you want. The only thing is SPSS requires you to not have spaces in between. So if you try something like that when there's a space between gender and the next word, it will tell you it cannot be done. So you have to do something like gender and put an underscore if you want to put in 2 words. Okay, click the next column or click enter. You'll see that SPSS has generated for you a whole bunch of different attributes for this variable. You can ignore most of them except for the following. First, under type, if you click on the side here, you'll see that there are many variable types that you can choose. You really only need to be concerned with numeric or string. String is used for text and numeric is used for numbers. In general, we will use numeric. Click OK. Under label, put in the question that was asked. So in this case, it is, what is your gender? Under values, put in the pre-codes that you have already specified in your questionnaire. Now you see why pre-codes are so important. So in this case, 1 is the label, female. Click add. And 2 is the response, male. Click add again. Click OK. You can pretty much ignore the rest of the attributes on the variable. Let's create one more for the next question on which is your favorite Game of Thrones character. This is a pretty straightforward multiple choice single select question, so the format is very similar to what we just did for gender. Why don't you try it on your own now and check your answers with the video. Okay, this is how you do it. Put in your question number, A2, or you could have something like Game of Thrones character. Click enter and leave this to numeric. Put in the question here. And under values, put in the values according to your pre-code. You can click enter to be faster instead of clicking yes. Instead of clicking add. Okay. Now you see that this question is a little bit special because there is a please specify option. That means that if your favorite character is neither Jon Snow nor Daenerys nor Tyrion, then you let respondents actually tell you who their favorite character is. In such a case, you actually need to create one more new variable to capture what was the text that was written, what other character they actually specified. So maybe you can put something like that. Character and open-ended, or character and others. Okay, to indicate that this is the text that they put in when they clicked others. So click enter, and now instead of numeric, you should change this to string because we're going to just type in word for word what the respondent wrote in. You may want to increase this number of characters to maybe something like 25 or maybe even 50. This pretty much just tells you how many characters can be typed in. Much like how Twitter can take 140 characters, this tells us that this new variable I'm creating can take 25 characters. Click OK. Here you can put in which is the same question because it's linked to the same questions. Okay, and under values, just leave it as none since it's an open-ended anyway. Okay, we can now put in some mock data. So if the first person is female, I'll put in 1. And if the first person's favorite character is Jon Snow, I'll put in 1 again. And since he didn't type in any new other character that he liked, because he didn't select others, so this one is left blank. Okay, so maybe the next person is male, and maybe because he's male, he likes Daenerys Targaryen, so you click, or rather you type in 2. And say this third person is female, so 1, and maybe he created this female liked somebody else, so you put others as 4. And since they selected 4 others, then you must make sure that there's something that was typed in here. So maybe this female likes, I don't know, Khal Drogo. Okay, and so this is how it's done. For questions that were not answered, because there was no need to, you just leave it blank. And for questions that, for the others, when you click 4, then you put in the name that was typed in. So let's test your understanding. I'm going to put in some mock data here. Can you guess what this person selected on the survey? If you had said that the person was male and the person liked Tyrion Lannister, you are correct. Okay, now let's move on to the next question, A3. So this is a different type of question. This is a multi-select multiple choice response option. And in this case, you have to create the data template quite differently. So because in this case, you cannot just put 1, 2, 3, 4 because the person can actually select more than one option. So you can't put in like 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in the same column. So what you need to do is actually to create 4 separate columns for each of the response option. This is how it works. You put in something like A3. Okay, I'm just going to leave it as the question number. You can type in the question here. And here I will indicate that this first option is for Zalora. So here the question should be something like A3 Zalora to indicate that this is the response option for A3. Then under values, I will put in 1 for selected and 0 for not selected. So basically this indicates that if the variable is not selected, then I put 0. If the person has visited Zalora, then I put 1. If the person is not visited Zalora, then I put 0. I would suggest keeping to 0 and 1 for this because it's more intuitive. You can understand 0 as never being visited before or never having had something before, and 1 as having had selected before. So the next one will be for ACES, and you can also copy and paste the question and change it accordingly. You can also copy this, so Command C, and paste Command V for the values as well. It does make your creation of the data template that much easier. Okay, so again, copying this and putting in, changing accordingly. And finally, the last one, none. Copying and pasting. So go back to data view. You can now put in the shopping websites of these 4 people. So let's just do one example, test your understanding. If I indicated something like this, what does it mean? It means that this person has visited Zalora in the last month, but not the others. What does this mean? This means that this person has not visited any of the websites in the last month because they selected none. If you have some jokers that indicate something like this, and sometimes that happens with a pen and paper survey, you get jokers like that. This actually indicates that this data is not clean, and in fact you probably have to call this person, or if you're on the spot you realize this mistake, clarify with the person, because this is an illogical answer. You can't possibly have visited Zalora and yet visited none of the websites in the last month. So you should not have this kind of data at all in your data set. Okay, and that's it. You are done. That's all for this week's lesson. Please try out the tutorial activity on the next page and check your answers with your MMR lecturer. Thank you for watching.